another episode and another session of Edtech Monday. My name is Nathan Kwao and I'll be moderating the session. Today, we are talking about using Edtech to enhance internet safety for learners, using Edtech to enhance internet safety for learners. Now, the increased digitization of information and education systems is making online activity a normal part of everyday life. As more young people use online learning platforms, parents, teachers, and school administrators are increasingly concerned about the safety of children while they are online. And in today's session on Edtech Monday, we focus on internet safety for learners in Ghana. And we ask, how can Edtech create awareness, but also help prevent different types of cyber threats or attacks and improve the online experience of our children? Now, the adoption of e-learning technologies in Africa continues to grow, with reports indicating that the e-learning market on the continent is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 11.2% during 2022 to 2027. So there's the need to understand the risks and threats to young learners online and how to recognize and mitigate them with protection mechanisms. Now, this includes the legal and ethical requirements placed on teachers and what they can do to keep students and their information safe and secure, strategies for making classrooms safe and secure for students' online activities, and the role of parents and caregivers in protecting their children as they study online. Now, we do know that all of this is part of Edtech Monday, a platform for Edtech entrepreneurs, education stakeholders, government reps to facilitate critical conversations on the use of technology for teaching and learning. So that's what we'll be looking at, using Edtech to enhance internet safety for learners. That's what we are doing today. And I'll be joined by a panel of experts to discuss the pertinent issues. So you can join our conversation by sharing your thoughts and comments and questions via our WhatsApp platform and our Facebook page. And let's hear from our panelists today. First off, I have Eric Kweku-Mensah. He's lead financial crimes and anti-money laundering e-crime bureau, and he's an astute professional in cybersecurity, financial crimes management, both cyber and non-cyber, e-payments, anti-money laundering, and security intelligence. He has delivered high-profile investigations and assignments for organizations within the financial sector, as well as other sectors of the economy. And Mr. Mensah has acquired vast experience conducting investigation, doing due diligence assignments, project management, and capacity building in technology and risk management. Eric, if you can hear me, good morning. Welcome to today's episode of Edtech Monday.
Hi, good morning, Nathan. I'm so grateful to be on this platform. I'm so grateful.
Thank you so much for joining us. Up next, we have Awo Aidam Amenya, Executive Director of Child Online Africa Profile. Now, Awo is Child Online Africa's founder and Executive Director, which is a child and family-focused charity working in Ghana and beyond through strategic partnerships. In this role, Awo leads the team of professionals and volunteers committed to influencing policies and changing practices in favor of child well-being and keeping the child safe in Africa while they are online. Now, if you can hear me, good morning. Welcome to Edtech Monday on this 26th of September.
Hi, Nathan. Good morning, and good morning to your listeners. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Awo, for joining us. We also have Mrs. Sheila Sonican, IT manager at Ghana International School. Now, she's an experienced educator with over 20 years experience in the IT curriculum space. Now, she's been she delivers IT curricula for children between the ages of 3 and 14. She's currently the IT manager at the Ghana International School, leading the school's drive towards technology integration in teaching and learning across its management and administrative functions. She's a certified international school evaluator or peer reviewer with the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, having embarked on accreditation visits to schools in Africa, Asia, and Europe. Sheila, good morning and welcome to Edtech Monday.
Good morning, Nathan, and good morning to your listeners as well. Good morning, co-panelists.
Again, thank you so much for as everybody's welcome to our conversation. Let me start off with Eric and Sheila. Now, as educators and stakeholders in education, this topic I'm sure it's very important to you. Now, what are the unique dangers that you find that online users are exposed to here in Ghana when it comes to learning online and that? Eric, let me start off with you and then I take Sheila's thoughts.
Okay, thank you very much, Nathan, and good morning again. Thanks for bringing eCrime on board to share our perspective on the subject matter. Now, to situate the subject matter, a survey by UNICEF revealed that 7 out of 10 young people use the internet for learning. Okay, now, if 7 out of 10 people use the internet for learning, it means that if there is any danger, it might get a wider range of the young people that try to leverage on technology. According to the survey, in fact, 4 out of 10 have actually contacted people that they've never met face-to-face before. And out of that, also 2 out of 10 of these young people have gone ahead to meet face-to-face with people that they first had contact with online. So this brings into perspective the danger of meet online and then meet offline, or contact online and meet offline. Now, there are some issues in relation to people trying to groom young ones to do things that ordinarily their parents wouldn't allow them to do. And that is one key thing. Another thing that we have seen in the industry as eCrime Bureau is that there is that issue about cyber stalking and cyberbullying. We also have the exposure to indecent images also being some of the dangers. Online predators are also over there. There's also another critical thing, which is the misinformation and disinformation. And that is a danger to the young ones. So by and large, there are other, cyber-related risks like the phishing and smishing that these young ones face online.
Thank you so much, Eric. Sheila, your thoughts on the unique dangers that you have found that young people in Ghana or online learners in Ghana are exposed to?
All right, thank you. And sorry, I'll start from where, sorry about that. I'll start from where Eric ended. Eric has mentioned a lot of things, and some of them he didn't really give names to them, because we have things like identity theft going on online for the children. And then we have sextortion, where people are asking the young ones to have sex with them. Otherwise, they put out things that they know about them online. And these are going on with these young students, and some of them are not even talking about them. Inappropriate content online. The children are there online, and so many things are popping up for them to see. And it's so inappropriate that we need to be careful what these children are doing online. Cyber predators, they are following them, and they want to groom them for other things, not just for themselves. They groom them, and quietly, like Eric said, they meet them offline, and then they start chatting with them and leading them astray. So these are some of the dangers these children are facing online.
Wonderful, wonderful start to our conversation. Let me stay with you too, and let's talk about the age difference in the level of potential danger. Is there an age difference in the level of potential danger? Sheila, let me take your thoughts quickly, and then I go to Eric.
There's no age difference. You know that these days, parents give devices to their children as early as 5 years. And because people want their children to learn online, they think that's when the children go online, they learn more things. So right from age 5 to whenever, everybody is faced with this danger. So there is really no age difference in the level of potential danger.
Eric, your answer to this question.
Yeah, I think Sheila has broadly categorized it. In terms of criminality, people try to cast their net wide. But looking at the scheme specific, from our analysis at eCrime Bureau, demographics also play a significant role in how these cyber criminals craft or tailor their schemes to suit their potential targets. So, for example, if I am a cyber criminal and I want to target a young guy, a young boy or an adolescent, I can leverage on online video games that have the functionality of, instant chat, and then try to build a rapport with them over there, and then try to groom them. So in terms of the scheme, I would say there are some differences in the schemes, but in terms of the potential danger, it will depend on the motive of the criminal. It will depend on the motive of the criminal. There are some specific schemes that are more tailored to even females. So here, gender comes in here. There are specific schemes that are tailored to males. And then even for the adults, that's online learning, we have issues of scams and the rest coming on board. So I think that is my little bit in relation to the subject matter.
Thank you so much, Eric. Let me bring Awo in. Awo, you've been quiet. You haven't spoken. Let's talk about the responsibility of online protection. Whose job is it to protect online learners? In your estimation, who should be that person protecting online learners?
Right. Thank you for the question, Nathan. When it comes to, I don't know if we should restrict ourselves just to the students, because the learning now is happening all over us. So I'm going to broaden it to cover those other scopes.
Yes,
so
yes.
In the classroom, for instance, the first responsibility stops at the desk of the teacher who is calling the learners in. Because the fact that you have sent them a link or an invitation to join a conversation or discussion online, you need to put all the necessary measures in place to ensure that they are safe. You also need to ensure that nobody is hacking into the system to fish on their information or do anything else that is not supposed to be. So the first point of call is the teacher. And it is also the responsibility of the parents who are giving their children the devices to teach them basic skills, basic information where they can report incidences or who to call. Even you can explore with them. So if you ask me whose responsibility, I would say that it's everybody's responsibility. Because when we want to unpack this conversation of online learners, the learners are the same people who go to the mosque as well. The learners are the same people who go to churches. Now we go to churches and they take photos of them and splash them online. You are not safeguarding the privacy of the young person who is in your care. So it's an irresponsible act. And it is also the responsibility of even a community center that is hosting an event for the children to ensure that the minimum child protection standards are adhered to. And until that is done, nobody is doing anything responsible there. Sports events, sometimes we get so excited, we film these young people. So it's good to film them, show them at home, let them identify their shortfalls and correct them in their next game. But if you want to upload these photos without consent from these young people, you are infringing on their rights, you are exposing them to harm, and it is not going to augur well for us. I use the word harm because risk happens after harm has been inflicted on a child. So the harm is more immediate than the risk. And sometimes we don't think about the harm, even though it's been committed, and we always say it's a risk, but the risk we need to analyze in order to identify the risk. And again, I would also say government has a responsibility to provide that enabling environment for all players in the field to put in place measures. So for instance, if a service provider does not have an up-to-date system which ensures that the rights of children is protected in the digital space, it is the responsibility of a regulator or the laws of the land to act. So please, all these other players when it comes to online, when it comes to children, not online protection per se, when it comes to children in general.
Thank you so much. I'll quickly, same question to you. Whose responsibility is it to protect online learners?
So, like Awo did mention earlier, the civil society organizations, even edutech companies have a role to play, okay, including the regulators, parents, teachers that teach these children, and even the children themselves. they owe it to protect themselves. So, for example, you advise a kid to abide with cyber hygienic practices. The kid ought to be able to, abide by them in order to protect themselves.
Eric, thank you so much. If you just tuned in, if you are listening to us, this is Edtech Monday. We are live on City FM's Facebook page. We're also live on MEST Africa. And today we are discussing using Edtech to enhance internet safety for learners. And my panelists for this morning, I have Eric Kweku-Mensah, Awo Ida Mamenya, and Mrs. Shelley Sonican. And we've laid the ground brilliantly for the next phase of our conversation. Let me take everybody's comments, Eric, Awo, and Sheila, to this question. What examples of effective policy do we have in Ghana when it comes to online safety of children? Let me start off with Sheila, and then we take Awo and Eric's comments. So what examples of effective policy do we have when it comes to online safety of children?
Thank you, Nathan. We have the Child Protection Policy, okay, that protects children offline and online. And then we have UNICEF as an institution that's helping with these child protection policies. They are working with the Ministry of Communication and then the National Cybersecurity Center, helping us to protect these children online, teaching them what to do, what not to do. We know that there are predators there, talking about cybersecurity, how the children will be safer online in terms of using good password, what to download and not what to download. So these agencies are helping us to protect the children online. This child protection policy is very important because it doesn't just protect the children offline, but online, because what we do, like Eric mentioned earlier, online sort of goes offline as well. So these are what we are doing in Ghana.
Sheila, okay, I will let's take your thoughts on this question on effective policy when it comes to online safety of children. Sorry.
I was expecting you to approach it by calling Eric so that he'll be the gender in between.
No, in between. No. Hey, if you can give us a response.
Okay, great.
All right. So Eric.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I must start with the Cybersecurity Act 2020 that was recently passed, and I must say that within this act, which is popularly called Act 1038, there are about 5 articles in there that look at protection of children online. So here we have the indecent image and photograph of a child specifically. We also have dealing with a child for purposes of sexual abuse. There are issues even about cyber stalking of a child and sextortion that was earlier mentioned. So all these things have been enshrined in the law now, and that there are also that kind of punitive measures that have been instituted when someone flouts this kind of policies. And just to add up before Awo comes in, the Cybersecurity Authority also set up the Child Online Protection Reporting Portal, which is a very good step, so that anytime there is some kind of abuse somewhere, they can quickly report on the portal for the issue to be addressed.
Great stuff. I can bring you in now to get your perspective on this one.
All right. Okay. Thank you for being understanding. Right. So Sheila made mention of the policy environment, and I would want to build on where she's left off. In terms of the policy environment, I am looking at the ministries or the sectors that are solely responsible for children, and to find out if they have a specific policy which is effective at protecting learners in the digital space. So I go to Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. Yes, the Children's Act has something, but we are not talking about mention. We said effective. So I'm looking at a pragmatic approach. to addressing the issue. So yes, we don't have any specific or standalone policy to that effect. I haven't seen that yet. The Cybersecurity Authority is working on a framework which is targeted at addressing online abuses, but that is yet to be concluded, as far as I know. And I'm also looking forward to seeing maybe a policy at the regulator level, that's NCA, having something specifically targeted at children to ensure that their online well-being is safeguarded. I haven't come across that yet. So I think we need that. That said, all is not lost. We have in addition to the Cybersecurity Act, we also have the Criminal Offences Act, which has a section addressing some of the needs of children or the abuses, the harms they face online. And there's also an omnibus provision made in the Electronic Transaction Act, I think section 123 or so. It kind of give a broader view of any transaction done in the digital medium, which goes to affect children, blah, blah, blah. So that can also be interpreted to mean ABC. But my concern with that also is the fact that until it will be at the discretion of the lawyer or whoever is presiding over the case to deal with it. So if you ask me as an advocate, whether we have an effective policy in place, I would say that even though we have policies or we have legislations in place that are meant to address some of the issues, it's not all the issues that are being looked at in those legislative instruments or the acts. So for instance, we don't have cyberbullying specifically mentioned in the Cyber Security Act of 2020. And we don't even have grooming mentioned. Sexting is also one of the things that young people are confronted with online. We don't have any of those mentioned specifically. And that will be at the discretion of whoever is engaging. And my plea will be that we kind of strengthen, realign our domestic laws and regulations in order to be up to date with global standards, so that when we take this document, we know that this can fight our cause or this can help address the issue of the young people we are engaging with. So that is what I will say to that.
All right, thank you. Let me stay with you, and I'll get Eric's thoughts.
Right.
How do we balance the need for online safety with? Before I even get to that, sorry, let's talk a bit about mobile and internet service providers. You mentioned, we've spoken about the key players in this environment. Let's talk a bit about mobile and internet service providers. What role can they play in keeping young learners safe online? Or maybe you can answer to that, and then we take Eric's thoughts as well.
Okay, so in terms of the mobile and internet service providers, I'll refer to them as industry players because it goes beyond them. You are also part of the conversation, Nathan, because you put out adverts to children in the space and all of that. We as NGOs are also included because we also do programs and take photos of children and all of that. E-Crime Bureau is part of the conversation. So industry in general, it is important for us to ensure that we are implementing the rights of children to the latter. Now, by the grace of God, there is the general comments number 25, which is the children in the digital environment. So it's the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, but focusing specifically on the digital environment. And it has stipulated a number of things in it for industry players to put in place to ensure that they are not infringing on the rights of children or restricting children from attaining their goals in life. So one, we need to implement that document to the latter to ensure that there's safety of children, there's rights of children, and there's ethics in our activities or design of solutions. We also need to provide, they need to provide some level of age gating of prohibited content. So if the content is inappropriate and it's not suitable for children, how do we prevent them from accessing it? There needs to be a system in place to kind of check those things. And it's also important to put a mechanism in place to identify or spot the risk even before it happens. So how do we do that? Tech people know how to do it. So if they are committed to working at it, they will do that very well. There's also the need for us to put in place the channels for them to get feedback. I've called a number of the service providers, the Care for You centers, to report one thing or another. You get a sense that when it comes to that, the recipients at the other end don't seem to be child-friendly. So if a child should be reporting an incident, they don't have the time to even wait for you to make the case. They'll be speaking the standard language to you. How do we make those things friendly? There's a bit of provision in that, but it's not up to the standard for me. If we have it, for instance, you have multiple language, fine. But do we have reporting in multiple language, which can also encourage a child, ensure confidentiality, and all those other issues, counseling services, and what have you? If we don't have that, then we need to put that in place. And there's also the need for industry to discourage commercial pressure on children.
Okay.
Sometimes we post adverts or post text messages to people, blast them without considering the recipients. Sometimes you buy a phone for your child and your child is getting such notices from either Tigo, MTN, all the other network, any other network. It's not right for them to be inundated with such content. So it's important for providers to ensure that those things are done. And the last one, in order to allow my colleagues to speak, would also be education, consumer education. If I know that my provider can give me support or can be a shoulder to lean on, yes, that would also serve as a way of advancing the business. And if you don't do that, maybe with time we might start class action against some of the providers. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you so much. Eric, your thoughts on mobile and internet service providers and what they can do to keep young learners safe online. Maybe you can, give us a few thoughts, and then we can move on to the next topic.
Sure. So specifically speaking to the service providers, that's internet service providers, I will look at it from the technical point of view. So here, one of the key things they ought to do is to be able to proactively, block access to web addresses known to contain content that is inappropriate for the wider audience, particularly for children, content that is actually promoting that kind of child sexual abuse material. It's very important that they proactively block such web addresses. Also, when you look at the terms and conditions of these service providers, it should have in it boldly written some of the conditions that forbids the use of the Wi-Fi service to display any material that is not, suitable for children or the environment at large. Then also from their side, because cybersecurity risks are everywhere, they also ought to proactively, take measures to, protect their systems from being hacked or from being compromised. Because when you do that, that means that data of learners or anybody that is using the platform will be taken and be used by the criminals. Then to add the last bit, installing filters on the Wi-Fi system to reinforce or underpin the policy on inappropriate material.
Thank you so much, Eric and Awo. Let me take quick thoughts from the two of you before we move on to talk about parents and what they can do. Just quickly, how do we balance the need for online safety with requirements for data privacy? Maybe a few words from the two of you, and then we can move on to another important part of our discussion. Hello, Eric.
Yeah. Okay. So let me quickly
online safety with the requirements of data privacy.
So this is going to be more of country-specific recommendations, because usually countries have their own laws and privacy regimes, and that has to be considered. Even definition of who a child is, what they can do and what they cannot do, and even the extent with which parents or guardians have responsibility to keeping the child safe. So that must be put into perspective before you are able to, marry what your child has to do or what your child does not have to do, and even some of the privacy related requirements of service providers.
Thank you so much. Awo, if you can hear me, same question to you in a few words. How do we strike the balance for the need for online safety with requirements of data privacy?
Nathan, in terms of the balance between privacy and safety, it's a tricky one. And when you take our Data Protection Act, for instance, and you study it, you could see that there was very little mention of children, or there's no mention of children in it. So by implication, consent is supposed to be sought from parents before anything is done with children. And I feel that is not strong enough. It leaves the law a bit weak when it comes to children. So I would be looking at probably we having to put in place an operational procedure which will limit automated decision with regards to children, except for statutory obligations and other contractual or legitimate interest issues. Every other thing should go through some sort of monitoring or evaluation to be sure that it is good enough for the child. And probably our practices should also prevent a way of tracking children's data for commercial and other uses. So for me, the child being the data subject, it's important for us to be sure that we get the balance right. I don't want bloggers to come after me for talking about the restriction. So which is why I made clear earlier that in terms of legitimate interest, contractual obligations and statutory obligations, yes, you can take children's data, but anything other than that, permission or consent ought to be sought and must be sought from the right people to, in order to progress with whatever you want to do.
All right, thank you very much. If you just tuned in, this is Edtech Monday for September. We are discussing using Edtech to enhance internet safety for learners. And I have Eric Kweku Mensah, Awo Aida Mamenya, and Mrs. Sheila Sonikan as the panel members for today. Like I said, we are discussing using Edtech to enhance internet safety for learners. And you are listening to us live on City 97.3, live on our City FM Facebook page, and live on the MEST Africa Facebook page as well. Let's get into our Vox Pop. We spoke to some people or some parents, caregivers on what kind of safety measures they have been taking to protect their children as they learn online. So let's hear the responses of some parents we spoke to when we posed this question of online safety vis-a-vis their children to them.
So I think that as my kids study online, one of the major concerns I have is, you would say the adverts that come through. There's always that tendency to stray to other platforms. So usually that's the part where I worry about. So most of the time I've had to always be following what they are doing. Because one moment they are studying, the next moment an ad breaks through. It's a song, it's a dance, you know, it's a product that is probably not age appropriate for my kids, especially because they are under 10 years old. So I'm usually very concerned about that for them when they are learning online. I think that because the kids are quite young, one of the things for them has been knowing that not everything is good for them. And in terms of danger, where they could try out something that they've seen online and that could be hazardous to themselves or to their peers. So because of their ages, you know, it's quite a bit at their level where they know. When you see a light being matched on the internet, it doesn't mean that that's the time for you to also be lighting matches, you know, in the house. So examples like that. And for things that they also get to see online that they don't understand, they also draw my attention to it. I think one of the things that I've done is usually I know the duration of the various learning tools that they're using. So that if it's for an hour, I tell them ahead of time that, okay, you have an hour of learning time. However, again, you also still have the issue of some ads filtering through. But I also got them to also understand when an ad is playing, just, you know, skip it and continue with the learn, because you only have an hour, so that they are quite time sensitive. I still think that there's a lot more to be done, especially with the ads, those channels. If there's a way of filtering out the ads, hey, I'll be more than excited to filter them out, just so that I can be ready.
I would like to start off with YouTube specifically because it's one of the sites they visit. And my concern is with the recommendation algorithm. I've seen some of the videos that the kids have been recommended whenever they go on there, and I'm not sure I'm too comfortable with. Obviously, it's because they've watched those kinds of videos, and the kids tend to enjoy it. But obviously, I'm not sure that is very wholesome for their mind and their emotional or mental development. I would say I haven't explicitly told them what the dangers are. I have just, you know, put prohibitions on what they can do and what they can't do. One of the conversations we've had is swear words and, you know, bad language and insults. Obviously, some content creators who make videos that the kids tend to like, they use curse words, and it's discussed. It's a rule in the house that whenever these things come up, they're supposed to change the video immediately. And luckily for me, they've complied with that. I'm not sure they understand or see any danger on the potential dangers on the internet. They just enjoy themselves. They just know what they want to do. They know they can watch their videos on YouTube. They know the sites they can go to study, and after studying, they know where they can go to play. So they don't. I wouldn't say they are afraid to study. So there are a few rules. I have a few rules for them, which is they cannot download any app without my explicit permission. They cannot visit certain sites without asking known, unknown sites. If whenever they come home and maybe a friend or a teacher has said, hey, you can go, they come and ask me, Daddy, we are supposed to go to this site. Then I take the link or look at whatever it is that they are looking for. And if it's good, I let them go on to it.
I have 4 kids who are very active on the internet, ages 18, 12, 11, and 7. And I worry a lot, especially when I'm not around. The older ones, they understand that there are potential hackers and all the other things on the internet. And so sometimes they're careful, not all the times. But the youngest, I worry a lot because he doesn't understand. All he knows is playing games. And so there are certain games that he's not supposed to play that pop up. And the minute they pop up, he just wants to explore. He wants to know what is going on. And so he will just tap on it. And might probably give some hackers or bad people a lot of information about me, my family, and other things. And so it makes me worry a lot. I try to educate them that there are certain things that they are not supposed to touch. I have parental control on their tabs and phones, but I don't think that is enough. I don't think that is enough to be able to protect them. And I know there are a lot of parents out there who are also trying their best to keep tabs on their children by introducing all these parental controls on.
Ensure that I'm observing their ethics, how empathetic
Recording
am I
in
towards
progress.
other people, what health implications are there for some of my actions, and even communication. You don't write in capital letters and all of that and not cause trouble to anybody. So children should be made to understand that. Then again, consumer rights. You have the right to participate online, but there's a limit to which you can engage. So how do we ensure that children are acting responsibly within the space? But Nathan, let me add quickly to the previous question to Eric and Sheila. I feel that teachers also need ethical consideration in their engagement with the young people. During the lockdown, some of the teachers were found to be engaging children aside the school hours with certain contents. So in that case, you as a teacher, you need an ethical consideration for yourself. You know that the school needs that in place for you so that teachers don't exploit children inadvertently.
Yeah, so just to add up to the subject matter, the importance.
So we can take the other comments
Sure.
and try and wrap it up.
Sure. So the importance of online etiquette must be emphasized. Also, the ability of these users or the learners to communicate kindly with others. So at the end of the day, they would have to live very responsible lives like they are living physically in the world. They should be able to live such lives on the internet.
Sheila?
All right, so I just will mention that